I'm James Holder. Welcome to Full Court Football 24. Quite privileged to be joined by former St Mirren, Aberdeen, Rangers, Hibernian, Shrewsbury Town, Hull City, Birmingham City, Partick Thistle, Portadown, Clydedown, Elgin City, Allier Athletic, Albion Rovers, and Lithgow Rose Star, none other than Dougie Bell. Hi, Doug. How are you, mate?
Hi, James. No bad. Thanks for on the show.
I appreciate it. Thank you ever so much for making a bit of time to come on the channel. It's great to spend a bit of time with you, mate.
No problem.
Yeah, looking at your achievements, fantastic. I mean, 4 league titles in Scotland, a European trophy for Aberdeen as well. Fantastic to be involved in. These are the type of things you dream of starting out as a player.
Yeah, well, looking back, it was a great 6-year spell I had at Aberdeen where we won 3 titles, 3 Scottish Cups in a row, the European Cup Winners' Cup, Super Cup. We got the semis the year after we won the Cup Winners' Cup. So when you're doing it, I think at the time I never appreciated it, but looking back now, it was a special time in my life.
Yeah.
I met my wife there as well. That's when I went up there. First night I was there, I met my future wife. So special times for me, Aberdeen.
I can believe it. When you think of the power that the top 2 in Celtic and Rangers have in Scotland, for a team to overthrow that and become the main powerhouse in Scottish football is a massive achievement. I don't think it can ever be downplayed what Aberdeen and yourself achieved.
No, it was great times. I think Rangers Celtic dominated Scottish football, and Dundee United were coming through at the time as well. So it was kind of the new firm, and I think Alex Ferguson had just really wound up. So we regularly beat Rangers and Celtic, and I don't think the Rangers Celtic fans were used to that. So I think it was hard on them. Us being the top team.
Now you've had the privilege and pleasure of working with one of football's masterminds in Alex Ferguson. And no doubt his success at Aberdeen then shaped his future success at Manchester United, and his same core, the same emphasis of building young, homegrown players. I'm really looking forward into getting into some of the details of this, but I think it's only right that we look back at the start of your life first. What part of Scotland would you have been brought up in, Dougie?
I was brought up in Postle Park in Glasgow, which is quite a kind of, it's not probably one of the nicest. But when I was a kid, it was good memories. But my mum and dad moved out to Cumbernauld when I was 7 or 8, and that's where I really seriously started playing football. Good for the local teams, and that got me a real interest in football.
Were you playing on the schemes then around the housing estates and stuff with local kids before you sort of got that initial involvement? How did that work for yourself?
Yeah, no, well, at the time when I was a kid, everybody played football. So coming all to big grass. So when you were home from school, first thing you did was and played football. And at the weekend, we all went and played at a local park. It was about 30 a side. So I think that's where I toned my ball skills to my individuals come out there, because once you get the ball, you try to keep a hold of it or you wouldn't get it again. There's that many people playing.
How did you then start playing more competitively? How did that involvement in the game initially start for yourself, Dougie?
I joined Commonwealth Colts when I was about 11, I think, playing under 12, 13, 14, and then I was getting more, there was a couple of bits of interest with senior clubs, but nothing materialised. And when I was 16, 15, I was playing for Commonwealth Borough under 18s, and that toughened me up a bit. And I started working at 6. I left school. The job I had, I couldn't play in a Saturday. So the guy who took the team, Maury Mackay, knew Alex Ferguson. And he took me through to St Mirren. And Alex Ferguson seen me and signed me, and I was my apprentice with St Mirren. It was exciting times because St Mirren had just been promoted to the Premier League and they were getting big crowds. So it was great going for just playing boys' club football to suddenly sign for St Mirren.
What was it like in the Scottish League at the time with the physicality, being like a young player? No doubt some of these old school footballers in the Scottish League had different ideas of you getting on, so to speak. What was it like? How was the physicality of it?
Well, initially when I signed apprentice, Alex Ferguson put me at Cumbernauld United Juniors. That was a shock to system. I was only 16. I was playing against, that's a physical league of juniors, and luckily I was quite big, so that kind of got me used to the physicality of football. And at the end of the season, back and I actually scored against Celtic in my second game, and it ended up Alex Ferguson's last game. So I was a wee bit unlucky. just as I broke through, he went to Aberdeen.
How long then would you have spent? How long would you have stayed there for?
I was in London 2 years. I was there a year under Alex Ferguson, and then I had a year under Jim Clooney. And the second year, I was playing away and scored a few goals. Thought I was doing quite well, but I think the manager thought I was a bit too individual. But they freed me at the end of my second season. And a day later, Alex Ferguson phoned me and says, "Look, I've got you playing up to Aberdeen. I'm up tomorrow. I want to sign you." So I went for there. The following season, made my debut against Tottenham Hotspur. In the midfield was Adil Spiller and Glenn Hoddle. That was my first game for Aberdeen, so that was exciting times.
When you signed for Aberdeen, had Alex Ferguson already transformed their fortunes? Were they already a winning team, or was it at the start of the sort of renaissance for Aberdeen?
Well, I think he'd got rid of a few players that had been there, and he was reshaping his own team. It's time Mark McGee and myself in 1979, and we won the Premier League that year. And I think for there was guys like good players that he brought. Lucky enough, the next couple of years, guys like Eric Black, Neil Simpson, Neil Cooper, John Pewbro started coming through the youth team. Peter Weir, and he had the Willie Miller and McLeish were there, Jim Layton. So the talent was there, but I think all the youth players really were some exciting players all come through at the same time.
Was it a shock for Scottish football the first time Aberdeen won the title? I mean, people were surprised, like towards the mid-season, that the Aberdeen could have a chance of winning it.
Well, I think the first title we won, we were miles behind Celtic, but with a couple of games in hand, and we beat Celtic twice at Parkhead. So I think they were maybe 9 or 10 points ahead, and I think they'd been a top team. So I think they thought we were going to win it, and Alex Ferguson gave us the belief to go to these places and win. So we won it. We won it at Easter Road 5-0 the last game of the season. So it was exciting times. That was the first league title.
What was it like in Aberdeen when you guys won that title? What was it like?
It was great. It was open top bus going back, and it was exciting, really exciting. It was unusual. I was only a young guy, so I said I wasn't a regular then, but I played enough to get a medal that year. So I think I started games of sub a dozen times. But
going into that second season, are you looking then to cement yourself in the team? Are you looking to kick on and start more games for Aberdeen?
Yeah, well, I started getting more regular games, and the next year we played Liverpool in the European Cup the next year. We went on to win it, and we played Austria Vienna at home, and that was my first kind of European taste. I did really well the Austria Vienna game, the away game, and we played Liverpool at. I was actually subbed for the home game, but I came on after 20 minutes, and I did quite well the home game. But we lost 1-0 to a Terry McDermott kind of lob near the end. But I started the game at Anfield. Souness and Rick End, they were class when they beat nothing. And I think, to be honest, I think we probably learned a lot that night against the top team. So that probably gave us a lot of experience to take on there, because that game, Alex Ferguson says, "We play against Ray Kennedy, he's not too quick, you get it, take him on." I don't think I touched the ball. All I did was get 1-2'd all night. Every time near we 1-2'd me. Their whole team was really, really good players. So it was a learning curve.
Having had that experience, you guys are then having one eye on beating them, I suppose, in European football, having that domination. That's such a dominant period for Liverpool in history.
Yeah, no, it was great experience. I've got. Yeah, it was great experience. And I think the following year we played Ipswich Town under Bobby Robson, who'd won the UEFA Cup. And we knocked them out 3-1 in the first round. So they had like Butcher, who ended up playing at Rangers, and Eric Gates, Marner, Tyson, Muren. They were a great good team, but gave them a right pounding at Pittodrie 3-1 and get through. And eventually Hamburg knocked us out, and they had Franz Beckenbauer on the team. So that was a great learning experience again that next year.
After you guys have won the title, you're looking to defend that. Have you then got one eye on trying to dominate Europe, trying to get them cups as well as them domestic cups in the bag?
Yeah, I think in '83 when we won the European Cup Winners' Cup and the Scottish Cup, we kind of took my eye off the league, and Dundee United slipped in behind and won at the end, and we were the best team that year. So it was good. The following season, we won the league title and the Scottish Cup and the Super Cup, and we got to the semi-final Cup Winners' Cup, and I was really disappointed that year because I played every game in the Cup Winners' Cup, and we lost to Porto. Because the season before we beat Real Madrid in the Cup Winners' Cup, played nearly every game except the final. I broke my ankle in the semis and missed the Cup Winners' Cup final.
That must have been a huge blow for you to take such a big occasion. As a young player as well, you don't know whether you're going to get these moments again. How did you handle that, Dougie?
Well, my wife was pregnant. She was over at the game in the stand, and I'd broke my ankle, and I tried to get back, and I'd said to Alex Ferguson, could I get a cortisone jab and go on the bench? But another player, Stuart Kenneth, played all the games in the season. He'd a career-threatening injury. He was never playing again. So the manager put him on the bench. He couldn't take a chance putting two injured players on the bench. So he left me out, and he said, my time will come again. And I thought it was the next year when we got the semis. If we'd beat Porto, we'd played Juventus in the final, and that'd been another biggie. Unfortunately, we lost at home, but we ran the nights, we just couldn't score.
Alex Ferguson, obviously known, like, with the benefit of hindsight, for playing young players, for developing his own players within his own youth teams and giving them a chance. Can you relate to that through his work at Aberdeen? Were the core of the squad all home sort of grown players?
Yeah. We never had any European players at Aberdeen, but you could see at Manchester United where he gave like Beckham and Giggs and also a chance, because he done the same with Aberdeen with like Eric Blackman, Simpson, Neil Cooper, John Hewitt coming into the team when he was 16 and training with the first team squad. He wasn't scared to give youth a chance, and I think it really paid off because they turned into really exceptional players for Aberdeen.
What was Alex Ferguson like in those early days as a manager? His famous hairdryer has been well documented. What was he like before and pre Man United, in his Aberdeen days?
Well, with me, he was quite aggressive because he took me up for St. Mirren, and I like taking a lot of touches. I like taking people on individual. So at training, he used to cut my touches down to 1 or 2 touches. Really? And I think in the European games, I enjoyed the big European games. I like taking people on. But I think the league games, he was getting frustrated because I think he thought I'm a better player for past it more. So he was kind of on my case quite regularly. And he was fearsome when he came in shouting at you, so it was kind of, you just had to take it. But it helped me develop into a player because my game became better all rounded.
I was just going to say this. Do you think that what he was saying to you did improve your game? It made you a better player?
Yeah, it did. Unfortunately, I think it was a bit later when I realised I became a better. I think I did. As the longer I was at Aberdeen, I became a better football player. I think it just injuries is the one that kind of
from Man United
takes effect.
From Man United, the most famous hairdryer moment would probably be that of David Beckham getting the boot launched at him. From Aberdeen and from your point of view, are there any hairdryer moments from Alex Ferguson that stand out, whether that be with your teammates or anyone else around the club?
Well, I think the one that I remember, we won 3 Scottish Cups in a row. We played Dundee United in the semi-final, and it went to replay. And we get knocked out in the replay. So next day, everybody at Pittodrie giving us a talking to, and he was going off his head. And I was number 10, and he used to give me quite a bit of stick. So I wasn't really looking forward to it. It went through the goalkeeper, Jim Layton, through the whole team. But when I got to number 9, was Frank McDougall. He argued back, and he actually saved me because he got that mad he forgot to pick on me after that. So I escaped the wrath that day. Frank got it because he argued back. But that was quite a vicious.
Yeah, I suppose the petulance of it, of answering back to him as well when he's in full red mode, would probably enrage him that little bit more.
A good one personally with me was we played Porto away in the semi-final of the European Cup Winners' Cup. and I'd been out injured, so I hadn't played for 4 or 5 weeks. They brought me back for the game, and I'd had done quite well in European games, but that game I didn't have a particularly good game. And he played me wide left, and the right back was a Portuguese flying machine. So at half time, he says, Dougie Bell, where are you? I says, I'm here, boss, I'm in the corner. He went, you're coming off, you're disgraced to Scottish football. And it was live in Scotland, and I thought, well, a wee bit harsh that, but I just took it. That was just the way it was then. Following week, you're back in the team again, and it's back to normal.
Yeah, I was going to say that after an incident, the next day, would he forget about it? Would things just, it was there and there?
Aye. Yeah, he was okay. Aye, once he slaughtered you, kind of, that was it. I think they looked for you to show a bit of fire, to have a bit of resilience against that and show what you're made of. If you crumbled up and didn't want to play, then you weren't for him.
I'd like to talk.
No, it was good to show.
I'd like to talk a little bit about some of your teammates in that Aberdeen side. Who were your buddies? Who were your best buds in that team? Who'd you get on with the most?
Well, Peter Weir, he was at St Mirren with me, and then Alex Ferguson signed him up at St Mirren. He was my best man when I got married. He was a good pal. To be fair, and I knew Mark McGeeffer coming up before I went up there. But Dougie Rugby, Stuart Kennedy, good lads, Alan McLeish, the whole team. Because it was we all played together for so long. I think it's hard to pick out. It's quite a good. We still keep in touch, and it's quite a nice. We meet up a lot with the Gothenburg greats, so could run it in Gothenburg. So Wally Muller, the whole Neil Simpson, Johnny Hewitt, Eric Black. It's a good squad. I think it's on really well with them.
What player stands out for you from the squad for being the most naturally gifted? What homegrown player was the most technical, most naturally gifted player in the squad?
Well, Gordon Strachan wasn't homegrown, but he came to Dundee, but he was a superb player. Peter Weir had magnificent skill, 2-footed, could cross the ball. Wally Muller's probably the best defender, and Alan McLeod's the best defenders played with. They were superb. I think Jim Leighton, I played with some good goalies, Andy Gorham, but got to say Jim Leighton's the best goalie I've played with. And the whole team was, if I picked a team out of the best players I played with, most of them would come for that.
What was it like travelling for them big European nights with Aberdeen, being the hope of Scottish football, being the cream of the crop? What was it like as a player and for the team?
Well, it was exciting times. I particularly enjoyed playing at Pittodrie because there was a lovely atmosphere for the games at Pittodrie. There was a big crowd and Alex Ferguson used to sometimes walk in the park, so it was slick. The fire brigade came in, walk the park, and I liked taking people on. So it was just different. It was a different feeling for me. And Dylan went, beat somebody, you feel the crowd all getting up, and it was just magical moments. Remembering the Pittodrie home games. But some of the away games, Bayern Munich away, we drew with them, and Hamburg away, drew with them. You know, but we're a team that could go in and sit in and defend really well because our defence was so good.
Talk me through lifting that third Scottish League title with Aberdeen. Talk me through that season from your point of view.
Well, I was kind of established then. That was me, kind of regular player, and Gordon Strachan had left that season. Start that season, Dougie Rugby, Mark McGee. So I think the manager had signed Frank McDougall for St Mirren, Tom McQueen for Clyde, and I think we won. I think we won it the last game of the season against Celtic. We had to avoid defeat to win the league, and we drew one each. So it was great. That was the third title I won at Aberdeen, and it was a great achievement.
You're winning cup doubles, you're winning European trophies, you're winning league titles. That's your third title with Aberdeen. Was the national team now coming to get you into the side? Because Aberdeen's dominance surely means that the Aberdeen players are going to be involved in the Scottish team.
Yeah, well, I played under 21s. Then '84, I think I played Jock Stein, the manager, Scotland manager, picked me as an overage player with Frank McAvenny and Roy Aitken, and I played against Yugoslavia. Unfortunately, got injured, and Alex Ferguson that last year was saying that he thought I should dislike for Scotland because I was going European nights. But then I went to Rangers and then he became the manager. Never picked me. So I think I'd kind of upset him by leaving Aberdeen. But to be fair, there were some excellent players there, and Graham Souness was in the team at the time, Paul McStay. So it was really difficult to get into the team in Scotland.
I was just going to say that. Very unfortunate that Scotland had a lot of quality players at the same time in the same position. Going against Graham Souness in your position, for instance, must have been very tough.
Yeah, I've no chance really, have you? Because he was superb. He was one of us all time, isn't he? So, and lucky enough, I ended up playing with him at Rangers a couple of years later when he was the manager, and that was a good experience because he was top up.
Strikes me as someone that's just hard as nails. He's just got that aura about him, hasn't he?
Well, when he came to Rangers, I actually kind of caught him my elbow in training, and I think I cut his nose, and he wasn't happy, but he never said anything. But a couple of weeks later, he managed to scythe me from behind and then stand on my face in the one movement, which is quite a skill. But I think then it was just he gave it out and he had to take it. So nobody complained.
After you'd done his nose with the elbow, did you think to yourself like he's gonna take revenge at some point? It's more rather than where than when, so to speak.
Oh, I knew I was getting it. I kind of knew I was getting it.
You played 108 games, league games for Aberdeen. It's a fantastic title, picking up numerous awards and league titles, cups and European trophies. Was it a tough decision for you to leave the club when the opportunity to join Rangers came up?
Yeah, it was. I think I played 200 games, including Scottish Cup, European games and League Cups, and all the various friendlies. And that was great, 200 games in 6 years. I had a few injuries. I had a great time at Aberdeen, Moyes for Aberdeen, and we loved being there. My daughter was born, but there'd been interest for a couple of English teams. And I'd heard then there wasn't agents then, but Rangers had kind of showed a bit of interest. I knew they'd been interested, but I probably would have stayed at Aberdeen. But I had an injury my last year where I get injured against Hearts, where I broke my rib, but it punctured my lung, and it was quite a kind of serious injury. But the manager put me back in the team. I was desperate to get back in again, but probably too early. And they kept sending me back to the hospital to get checkups to say that and they were saying I was 100%. And I just started doubting its mind then. So I thought it'd be better moving on, but I was going to get a regular game. And that's what I done. But he did say to me, he took me in. I had a year with my contract. He says to me, look, son, if you're fed up winning trophies, then on you go. But I'd like you to stay. But I says, well, I think I've been here 6 years. It's time for a new change. And he wasn't too chuffed about me leaving, but he'd done really. Sorry to leave, but I just had it in my mind that I kind of passed my best.
Do you think he was quite disappointed in you, the fact that one of his players who he's been so loyal to and had so much of a rapport with was then leaving his club and his nest, so to speak?
Yeah, I think so, because I played under him for nearly 8 years, so it was a long time, really. But the memories are great, and sometimes maybe it's time just to stay too long, isn't it? Because a lot of the other players that stayed on, they can ended up all moving on quickly again after that when they went to Man United. So,
did you know at the time that Alex Ferguson would go on to be a powerhouse in world football as much as dominating Scottish football for that era?
Well, I didn't imagine he'd go on to be successful. He was, but you knew he was going to be successful because he had a real determination and will to win, and he was a real aura about him, you know. So everybody had nothing but respect for him and listened to what he was saying. So it wasn't a surprise he'd done so well.
Would he take the training sessions at Aberdeen himself? Would he have a big input on the overall sessions that you boys were doing?
Yes, he did. Fox he did. But I think when we got to the kind of peak at Aberdeen, Archie Knox done a lot of training. Archie's training was really good. He took him Man United, and I think obviously when you're a manager and the team's very successful, you don't have so much time to on a training park as what he probably had early in the season. Because when at St Mirren, he took all the training, and then initially when we first went up, he took a lot of training. But when Archie came in, I think Archie's training, that was Archie's thing. He was a great coach.
It helps being a great manager if you've got great coaches and great coaching team. Do you feel that that was one of Alex Ferguson's strengths in choosing the right people around him to advise and assist?
Oh, definitely, because I know all the guys for that era have all got a lot of respect for Archie, because he just like one of the boys, you know, he joined in, he played, but he made his training really interesting. When he first came in, I was playing the first team, but he used to, obviously, Aberdeen, so I was in digs at first. He used to take me back in the afternoon, worked on my left. But he had Neil Simpson, Eric Black, John Jewett, Neil Cooper, all the young boys, and it definitely made them better football players, working on their weaknesses. It made me a better football player, because my passing get better, my left foot crossing get better, and I definitely put it down to Archie's.
Was there a big drinking culture at Aberdeen at the time? Bearing in mind football was in a completely different place to it is now in terms of diet and things the players will take on board before a game, etc. Was there a big drinking culture amongst the Aberdeen players at the time?
No, Aberdeen's a kind of strange place, because there's no secrets in Aberdeen. So if you're out for a drink, Alex Ferguson found out that.
Really?
So it was more. I'm still there.
Yeah, I mean.
Aye, it was obviously after a game on Saturday, go for a few pints. But it wasn't really. I wouldn't say there was like the players all went out after I won the league or something. Wally Miller had a pub. Used to go back to his pub and get champagne out, and the fans would come in. So day nights were great, but no, I wouldn't say it's more like if they kind of split went for a couple of pints after the game. It wasn't everybody all went, and it's not like now where it's must be harder now to go for a pint. Imagine with social media.
What was it like then, leaving the powerhouse of Aberdeen to join rivals Glasgow Rangers? How was that transition for you?
Well, I was a Glasgow boy and I was a Rangers supporter growing up, so it was a big moment for me going to Rangers. I was proud to go to Rangers. My dad, all my family were all Rangers fans, all my friends, but it put a bit of extra pressure on you, because suddenly you needed about 40 tickets every home game, and everybody wanted to come and watch you. And but the other side is that my wife came when my daughter had come from Aberdeen to move down to Glasgow, and we stayed in Newton, which was beautiful. But I think my wife felt a bit lonely because she missed her family in Aberdeen. So you don't think about these things initially, but it's more focused on how you're doing with football. And unfortunately, first year we never won anything at Rangers, so it wasn't for me. But I had also had that. I probably never done myself. Joe Wallace, the manager, who was great. I really loved Big Joe. Great guy. Really Rangers man. I probably never done as well as I could have. I think the year before I had the bad injury, it took me a wee while. I started picking a lot of hamstring injuries my first year at Rangers. I think because I was trying to just hold back my injury. My body was probably out of sync. It wasn't until the next year when Souness came in, I started playing back to my best form.
When they signed Graham Souness, are you thinking this is great for the team, but it could be a little bit hard for myself because we play in the same position? He's obviously going to play. What goes through your mind when the club signs someone like Graham?
Well, it was exciting times because it was really big. You know, it was Glasgow Rangers, Graham Souness comes, and everyone, whenever I get telly, unfortunately, the first league game of the season, I was in the reserves, but so was about most of the year before, because he signed a few players. But he took me in and says that I wasn't in his plans. But not just me, I've got another 10 of the players. So I had 3 years left my contract, so I thought, well, I'm just going to see out and try and fight back in. I went on loan to St Mirren for a month and done really well. Brought me back. He got injured and I came back, Hibs, my first game and scored. Then I had a run of games. And it was great to get back in the team. And they won the League Cup in the league that year. And I done quite well, but he signed Graham Roberts, our midfield players, and it was Ian Durant was breaking through then. Graham Souness got himself, so there wasn't any space in the team for me. So I took me in after Christmas and said, we're going to put you up for transfer, and there's a few clubs in for you. So I spoke to my wife, and I thought it's probably better if I move on, because I'm not going to get a game. Because I was only, I think.
What clubs were you linked with then? What were your options?
It says Standard Liège in Belgium were interested. There was a German team. There was about, I think Dundee United, Dundee, St Mirren. There's quite a lot of Scottish clubs and a couple of English clubs. But I still had a house in Aberdeen, so I thought, well, I thought my wife was going to keep me back. We rented a place then for 6 months and then moved back to Aberdeen. But I think that kind of knocked me up with Hibs because the manager wasn't happy when he found it back to Aberdeen. Because it's about 100-mile trip.
Okay. So you've had these opportunities to go to Germany, you've had opportunities to go to other places in Europe. You end up signing for Hibernian. Talk me through that decision and the process involved signing for Hibs.
Well, I'd been on loan at St Mirren that season, and Alec Miller was the manager. And Hibs are a big club. Alec Miller was got Hibs' job. I was his first signing. He phoned me up and he says he wanted me to go there to pick in and take people on. They were second bottom in the Premier League. I think we ended up 4th that year because I went to Christmas and I'd done really well. But unfortunately, next season, his tactics changed and he didn't want me to be an attacking player. So I got a bit frustrated because he wanted me more a kind of marker. And so I asked away and I decided. I asked away a few times and I left later. I played 35 games in a year and I fancy going down south. There was a bit of interest down south, so decided to move down south.
What were your options then? Talk to me about your options and your destination.
Well, it was difficult because I'd asked away, but I think Sheffield United were interested. Doncaster Rovers. There was about 4 or 5 English clubs, but what Shrewsbury, I never really knew where Shrewsbury was, but Ian McNeill was the Shrewsbury manager of Scots fella, and he told me when he phoned me up that he'd been assistant at Chelsea and he tried to sign me 3 times, but not to me because Alex Ferguson never told you anything at the end of his interview. So apparently Chelsea signed me a few times. He says he wanted me to have a free role to run at people, and that really excited me. And it was funny because I drove down at Christmas, the old Gay Meadow, and they just turned the floodlights and stand on. I thought, the stand looks quite nice. I went and played on the Saturday, and I don't know if you've ever been to Shrewsbury's old ground, but it was tiny. The stand was all right, the rest of the ground was a enclosure. But to be fair, I enjoyed it. We went there and we were second bottom again, and I signed and we stayed up. It was great playing against Chelsea, Man City. I scored against Man City, Main Road, my second game. I think I scored 3 goals in my first 3 or 4 games. And the crowd really took to me and enjoyed the way I played. And again, I really enjoyed Shrewsbury. Until we stayed up the following year, then I got injured again pre-season. And the manager signed a real load of Scottish players. David Moyes was there, Dougie, John McGinley went on. Jim Melrose, Hartford. So there was no Scottish players, there were English players. So when they never started well that year, and I think the crowd started kind of getting on the Scottish players a bit. By the time I came back, favourite, I noticed I was getting a wee bit of stick, and but it's B sign again that got me into trouble.
What was David Moyes like as a player? What was he like as a teammate? How'd you get on with him?
He was a great teammate. He was a lovely guy. We stayed in the same. I went down there for 3 months before my wife was pregnant, so I was down there. We stayed in the same hotel. So after training, we used to go play snooker. We used to go and watch games. So it was lucky in England you could get passes. So we went and watched Aston Villa quite a lot, Wolverhampton Wanderers, Birmingham City. So he was, even at that age, he'd have been about 6. He'd done his coaching badges and he was really keen to get involved in the coaching side of the game. And so it was interesting. And he taught me how to do my coaching badges because he talked about it. It was good sitting on bus going to games because he was interested in before that I was all interested in playing and who you're playing against kind of thing. But no, he's a nice fella as well. He's done really well. Deservedly so because he worked really hard at a young age.
You played over 50 games for Shrewsbury down south. Did you enjoy your time there? And again, was it a tough decision for you to pack up sticks and move?
Well, no, I really had a good, the usual kind of fell in and out the clubs. I started great and then I had a patchy spell and they put me up for transfer. And I went and loaned to Hull for 2 months. Eddie Gray was the manager. And I played 4 games and I done okay. He was keen to sign me. Then I got injured again. I had to go back to Shrewsbury. And the manager that was near the end of the season, they get relegated that year. And I fell in a wee bit. I made a jest. We beat Colchester in the FA Cup 3-0. And I felt like I made the scapegoat a bit. So I crowd gave me stick. They all cheered when I took off and I done a V sign. Unfortunately, it was a family stand. I never knew there was a family stand. So I get fined 2 weeks' wages, which I deserved. And it was a shame because I loved it there. I stayed in Shrewsbury. My daughter was born there. Said I wouldn't play again. But I get back in the end of the season, played a few games. A chance to get back to Scotland, like Motherwell wanted to sign me. I didn't want to go back to Scotland. I enjoyed playing down there. So I thought I'd still want another year in my contract. It was a time, it was month to month thing. They're in the next division, the old 3rd division. I think I scored 3 goals in the first few games. We're top of league. And I'm at the new deal. So I agreed the deal. But instead of the 2-year deal, I wanted to change it to 3-year deal. Without telling me. And I wasn't want to sign that. So we played Birmingham City. I was month to month, and Dave Mackay met again. Look, next day I drove through for Birmingham City. I think it was about 80,000 or something like that. On the old, the ones they done where it was a selection process, and they done a tribunal. I think I went for 17,500 or something. So I went to Dave Mackay, was enjoyed. Initially seemed a good mood, a good move, big crowd, Birmingham City. And I got bad in the engine, it was out for nearly a year. In the meantime, Dave Mackay gets sacked. Lou McCarrick came in, who I don't think was a big fan of mine. I like getting on the ball, and to be fair, his tactics were more long ball. And midfield, I like ball touches. So I think when I get back in again, played a couple of games and he let me go. And I went back to Scotland with Partick Thistle. Signed for Partick Thistle.
Coming back to Scotland, were you a big player going back there? Did you feel like you were now one of the marquee signings for the team, having sort of that experience down south, 4 Scottish league titles, numerous cups? Did you feel like you were like a big player going back there?
Well, it was initially Partick Thistle won the 1st division then. So they won the Premier League. and he was saying, he commented that was the fittest player he'd signed that came back from England. So my fitness was good. I hadn't played much the following year, so unfortunately after 3 games, my knee went again, and I had to get another knee operation. So I was out for a few months again. So I think I played 15 games that year, but I promoted to the Premier League. But I had a bit of fault at manager with a wee trip to Blackpool at winter. And with a bit of carry on and I threw him in the sea, and he broke his lip ribs and never played again. So at the end of the season, I get released again, so I was back in my travels. And that was a shame because the team were in the Premier League and I probably would have done well. I think it was my own fault. So it was a prank that went wrong, punishment, and I was off again.
Explain to me what happened. What caused the...
Well, we're doing at Blackpool for a winter break and we're playing on the sand. Because I like taking people on, he was telling all the players to kick me. So they were all kicking me and it was a bit of fun. And the assistant manager, Jerry Collins, who I'm good pals with now, says, Dougie, throw him in the sea, because he hates the sea. I went to pick him up, throw him in the sea, and 2 of the players grabbed his legs, but he kicked it and fell and hit a big rock under the sand. And it broke his rib. And he was in hospital for 6 weeks or something like that. But they still get promoted to Premier League, so. But it was something I'm kind of sorry about, wasn't it? It's a stupid thing to do, but
these things happen, don't they? You're zealous, you're horse playing with the lads. It's easy for someone to get hurt. I'm sure you didn't intentionally mean to break his rib.
No, I like John Lambie. No, it was just...
Yeah. If it had been Souness, I'd have believed you'd done it on purpose. I'll take that one as your word, you know what I mean? So what happened after that when you was bombed out of there? What was the next move for yourself?
I went on. I'd actually been to Northern Ireland when I was at Birmingham. I'd went over. They'd played Stevie Cowan, my pal, played there in the Northern Ireland League, and Dave Mackay had said the season kind of finished. I went on phone. They had 2 league games and an Irish Cup final. So I went over and played the 2 league games. We won the league. Midfield player got injured, and then the Irish Cup final. The 2 midfield players get fit again, so he put me sub, and I wasn't well pleased. The deal was that when I was playing, I played well the field game, but that was their first ever league title. So I was lucky enough to get the league. Although I only played 2 games, but when I left Partick Thistle, they both tried to sign me. So I went back. I played a season, and I had a good team. So it was great getting back. A lot of good friends I made there. We won a couple that year. Really enjoyed Portadown.
This takes us to Clyde.
And then it was good timing for Clyde because Clyde bought a house in Cumbernauld when I signed for Partick Thistle. So Clyde got a new stadium in Cumbernauld. And Alex Smith was a manager who'd been an Aberdeen manager. He heard I was available, so he signed me at Clyde. And it was me a good PR because I came to Cumbernauld. But it was the same thing. My game was more passing then. I was more a sitting midfield player. I think the fans thought I was going to be like at that time, I think I was 34 years old, maybe 35. I wasn't as fast as I was when I was younger. So I took a wee bit of abuse off the fans thinking I was going to get better 10 years previously.
They think you've been marauding forward on the ball. And you're sitting in the engine room just ticking.
My marauding days had gone.
Yeah. I suppose at this stage of your career as well, 34, you've had quite a few knee operations as well. Your body must be taking its toll. You're starting to feel the effects of such a sort of vigorous career in football.
Yeah, well, I was getting a bit. My knee would stiff. I had to do a lot of warming up with my knee, and I was getting a lot of hamstring problems I've had for a few years. But my next move, I went to Elgin City, which was a bit of a trek. And at the time I got to Elgin, it was about 150 miles away from Cumbernauld. But we had a good team at Elgin. We're top of the league at Christmas. Ian Fleming was the manager. And I enjoyed Elgin City, but the time was too much. So when the winter came in, by the time I got there, it took me about 2 hours to to get myself loosened up to play. So I went for there to Alloa Athletic, and I had a spell there, 6 months, which I quite enjoyed. Then I moved on for there. Well, the usual one, the manager gets sacked and the new manager come in. I was getting a bit experienced then. I was talking to the manager. You're a threat, aren't you, when you get to that stage? So it's move on time.
I'm guessing where you've got that experience of seniority, you're coming towards the end of your playing career. A new manager will look at you and think, well, Hawkeye, let's get him out. If something's going wrong, it's easy just to put you straight in, isn't it?
Aye. I think that people are looking for, because after that I went to Aberdeen Rovers and I was pally with a guy, just a young guy, Benny Moore. He was a decent player, but he was about, I don't know, 30 then. I was about 36, 37. And when they were saying things, I was saying, well, I was talking up, but I was not talking up to be really big time. It's just because to try and help the team. But you begin to get in the manager's nerves, don't you? Because he's wanting to talk, he's inexperienced, and it causes problems. So I think that hastened my move elsewhere again. So, but it was good. I quite enjoyed going for a year to different places. Then I went to play for Lithgow Rose. They were a junior team in outside Edinburgh, big club, won the league there. Had a year there, then I went to Musselburgh, the same league as player manager. Had a year there, then I went to Forsyth Rangers, a couple of years there, player manager. Then I was 40 by that time, I'm still kind of playing. Went to Bailson, player manager, so it was just difficult to try and keep myself fit and coach and manage at the same time. But I quite enjoyed it.
At what age did you announce your retirement as a player in the game, and how did you handle that personally in that transition?
Well, by the time I finished, I was playing part-time because I was working then, and I'd kept myself fairly fit. But it wasn't too bad because I was still coaching. So when I stopped playing, I think I played for my pal's manager, and I helped him out when I was about 40. I played. So I kept myself on it. When I stopped playing there, I was still playing a Sunday we played for Goodla Pumps, and it was a charity team. So we played every Sunday. So that kind of made up for not playing that side. I kept playing. But my wife had said to me, when I was 60 last year, she says, once you hit 60, I stopped playing. Because it was funny, Neil Simpson, who played at Aberdeen, had a test war against Man United. That was about 4 years ago. I think it was 56. And I came up and played, and I played the last 20 minutes. And it was against Wayne Rooney, Paul Scholes, Ryan Giggs and all that. It was a Man United first team, so it was great. And the fans were singing my name. What a buzz that was. I never thought I'd get that again.
Indeed. I'd like to talk to you about managing Clyde briefly. Colin Henry resigns as manager. You're the most experienced man around the club. They bring you in for the job. You've got a couple of games in charge. Now, if I'm right in thinking, on your first game, you were sent from the dugout. You got a 5-match ban. Second game, you're sent from the dugout. You got a 5-match ban. This is a 10-match ban game in your first 2 games of coaching. What's happened? Explain to me what's happened. These seems really extreme. Can you tell me the situation and the logic behind it?
Well, I'd been at Clyde 4 years by that time, and I'd been taking the reserve team. Under 18 coach, then I moved up under Graham Robert. Joe Miller put me as assistant manager, and then John Brown came in. Well, Colin Brown came in first. I was assistant manager under him. He gets sacked, and I took a team that was against, I think it was Hamilton Accies the first game. And I was just trying to get players going, and the ball came over, and I went to throw it back to get the game going, and one of the Hamilton Accies players tried to grab the ball off me. And I just kind of got him by the neck to push him away. I think it looked worse than it actually was, and I get sent off. And the next week, it was Dundee. It was the 2 top teams at the time, to be fair, and we were winning. And I think that we had a player, Dougie Emery, who'd get through just outside the box, had played it in to a boy, Gary Arbuckle, went on and scored, and the referee pulled it back, saying that Emery had been was a free kick. So he gave us a free kick, and I said, "What about advantage?" So I was shouting at the linesman, saying, "Have you ever played football before? For God's sake, look how fat you are. How can you run around doing all that usual kind of stuff?" We started waving his flag. Got the referee, he gave me another red card. That was 2 red cards in 2 games. So I thought, football manager's no for me. I'll stick to being assistant.
This must be a question of sport question in the future. What manager got brought in and got a 10-match ban within 2 games? It's like, it sounds such extreme when you read it, but when you explain it, obviously you can see the logic behind it. But on paper, it just seems so extreme to get 2 games, 10-match ban.
I know. It was silly, but I was just wanting to do well, and it was just frustration.
Yeah. Do you think sometimes the over exuberance of wanting to do well can then unsettle you or unnerve you? Because no doubt, if you had these opportunities 9 times out of 10, these things wouldn't have happened. But the fact it happened to you twice in 2 weeks on such a high-profile sort of thing.
Well, I think if I had the chance to sit back, if I'd got the manager job, I'd have thought, maybe look back and say, look, calm yourself down, Dougie, and learn for experience. But I think because the 2 happened so quick, I never get a chance after that I just thought, no, that's it. It's not happening.
It's easily done, though. Everyone loses their temper at work, and I guess things are magnified, and where you haven't had the experience of dealing with that pressure all on you before. You say the wrong thing to someone, next thing, another 5-match ban. Incredible.
I know. I think the thing is, because when I took the reserve team or under 18s, I was shouting the same things, but you never get sent off.
Yeah.
But I think because it was a higher level and the referee and linesman are a wee bit more sensitive to these things, then they're not putting up, but they react quicker so it doesn't happen again.
What did the chairman say to you after you got your second 5-match ban within 2 weeks? What was it?
Well, they've been asking if I'd been interested in the manager's job. And I think that made my mind up. I wasn't. He says they wanted me to stay. Whoever came in, they wanted me to stay as assistant manager, which was good.
Yeah.
So I stayed on another 2 seasons after that. So I think it was there nearly 5 years, 4 years as assistant manager, which I really enjoyed.
Do you feel that was?
But the club were great.
Yeah. Do you think that was a more suitable role for you at that time, where to work under someone where you can sort of bark to them rather than barking at the officials, so to speak?
No, I think coaching was more suited to me. I think management, I didn't really want responsibility, and I think I got myself quite excited. And I think sometimes you get excited, it gets the players going. So when they're making a spurt, to be vocal outside and keep shouting at them, keeps it going. But that's the way I kind of played. So it just took my kind of playing career, not my coaching.
I don't think it's that extreme the way you've explained it. But when you read it on paper, obviously it sounds more extreme. I was expecting you to have let a flare off or something. Or
No, it wasn't too bad.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. So, at this age, after this role in football, are you still actively coaching? Are you still working with players? How did how did you tamper down from where you were at that time?
Well, my pal Bob also played the Rangers. He's got a coaching school in Canada. Every year I go for 2 or 3 weeks to Canada and coach over there, and I really enjoyed that. But obviously now it's not happening with COVID. And I enjoy coaching kids, but I quite enjoy coaching. So I still do bits and pieces. People ask me for local clubs, and I get doing a help out, do a bit of coaching. I was doing a bit of scouting as well, but I think because I'm a bit older now, it's getting too cold to do that. I wasn't enjoying. And somebody speaks to you, you miss it. You're trying to write down the free kicks at corners, and then somebody talks to you, how's it going, Dougie? And then a goal. You've got to be attentive. You don't enjoy watching the game, so I had a year of doing that, and I thought that's not for me.
Yeah. You are now a successful author as well. Obviously, your autobiography, signed by Fergie twice, has been absolutely fantastic. It's been so well received from Scottish football, and I'd say football on a broader horizon. How does it feel to be a successful author now also?
I don't know. I don't know about that. I want to get the book out because It was just dedicated to my wife, who passed away in April, and she was a big support to me throughout my football, and it's made me push on. I've done quite a lot of interviews, a few podcasts, and any money for the book's going to cancer charities. So she would have been proud of that, and that's why I'm kind of pushing on it.
So you donate all the proceeds from the book to the charity that helped your wife when she wasn't so well?
Yeah, the hospice, it's going to hospital homes. Mostly goes to hospice and other pizza. So it's going to, any profit get to hospital.
That's fantastic. How have you personally, how have you handled everything since your wife passed away? How have you personally been, and how is your sort of your mindset?
I found it really difficult. I went back to my work after about 2 months. My work was great, but I needed to focus. I didn't want to sit at home and just grieve. And with that many good memories, my wife, I think I've kind of thinking all the good times I had. The book's been good because the book tells about some of the things that she was involved in, like silly things getting sent off at Tawdry when I went back with Rangers, and she was sitting in the stand, all the daft things I'd done. So she knew about the book, and I wasn't particularly wanting a book, but she thought it was a good idea doing a book. Unfortunately, passed away before it got published, but she knew most of the book was in, so that's been my big that's been my.
How important was your family unit to your footballing career? How important was it that you had that established, settled environment and relationship back home? And how much do you credit that to your success as a footballer?
Well, I think it definitely makes I think when it went from Aberdeen to Rangers, we stayed in the house in Newton Mearns. It was family. It was Shrewsbury. I was doing that for a few months myself. I did go for a few times. Once the wife came down, my mother, daughter, and my each one was born. Every weekend it was like going to parks, and it's good to relax, isn't it? You look forward to it. Lucky enough, football player, you finish at 12 o'clock every day. So I could go back and take the 2 wee ones to the swing parks. You're getting a lot of quality time with your kids. So I think that's important. And I think it'd be hard for football if you went down and stayed in hotels all the time, because the attraction of drinking, and it would take it away from when you've got a settled family, then you're eating well, you're looking after yourself, and that definitely helps you look after your body and that to play longer.
Now, if you could change anything about your footballing career, one decision you made, one decision that you didn't make, what would that decision be?
It's a hard one, because I'd like to have played in top level English football, but I don't regret. I was a Rangers fan. I enjoyed playing for Rangers. I've got to say, I'm proud of going to Rangers. It's difficult. It's just you get. Maybe leaving Aberdeen, it was a bit hasty. I don't know, a year's contract, but probably leaving Aberdeen is maybe the one I would maybe have thought of stayed a bit longer.
How long did it take Alex Ferguson, to forgive you after leaving Aberdeen? How long was it?
I don't know about that. He's been great, because he's come up to a lot. He's took Manchester up to a lot of tribute things, and he always comes up and do with the Gothenburg team, kind of testimonial thing back. He took Man United up to play in it. He's been great. I think actually I got a phone call the game when I went back with Rangers to Aberdeen. I get sent off. The fans were giving me a bit of stick, and I gave him a gesture. And I think he thought I gestured to him. I hadn't, but about a couple of months later, I got a phone call from one of the players who's saying, "Look, you think you gestured to him, he'd maybe sign you back again if you phone up and apologise." I says, I never done it. So, but probably should have phoned him up and just says, "I apologise, but I was too big-headed, but I hadn't done it, so I never phoned him."
You and him seem to have a great relationship, though. He seems as well to care for his players. Once you've played for him once, it seems that and you haven't let him down, he'll always have that affection for you and that affiliation. I guess that shows in the way he wrote your foreword for your book, which is a fantastic thing for him to be involved in also.
Yeah, well, when he passed away, the week later, I got a phone call from Alex, and it meant a lot to me because he hadn't been keeping well himself. So he phoned me up and asked how I was and all that, and I really appreciated that. And he's phoned me up a couple of times since then. And I mean, it's good. It's really good for me. I really appreciate him doing that, just to make sure it was okay. And Archie Knox, again, he's phoned me up regularly and asks how I'm doing and sends wee jokes and that on the messages, and I really appreciate that. They've been really good.
As we said, all money raised from the book is going to the hospice. They were fantastic throughout supporting your wife and everything that goes on. How do we order the autobiography? So signed by Alex Ferguson twice, signed by Fergie twice. How do we order it? How do the people watching this buy the book?
It's on Amazon. Amazon, $5.99. The book, and Kindle, it's $2.99.
If you could relive one day of your footballing career, like Groundhog Day, the film with Bill Murray. Don't know if you're aware of that. Quite an old film.
Yeah.
If you can relive one day of your footballing journey, what day would that be? What day would you relive?
Well, the Aberdeen fans, I've had a lot of interest for Aberdeen fans since I brought the book out, and they're all going about Waterside, where I had a good game in the semi-final. I made 2 of the goals. But my biggest memory game was playing against Bayern Munich in the Olympic Stadium in the quarterfinals, where I played. I thought that was my best game for Aberdeen. Against Paul Breitner and Rummenigge, I was playing for Bayern Munich. I really enjoyed that night because I was getting the ball and taking people on, and I felt as if that was at my peak that night.
Yeah. I feel that was your finest hour. You had
my finest moment.
You had to showcase yourself to someone and show what you were about. You'd show them that at that peak moment.
Yeah, but wee clips for the Waterside game. I think if you ever the Waterside home game, we won 5-1. The first 10 minutes, I went on 2 or 3 mazy dribbles. So that was like my game. It shows what I was about. I like taking people. I like trying flicks. I like going by people, and I was quite powerful in my runs. So that kind of shows my.
When you're that type of player, it can be frustrating for other players around you, I guess, because they don't see the game the same way you see it. A flick, a nutmeg, a skill is as valuable to you as an assist in your own head. So, was it frustrating for the other players that you will hold on to the ball that little bit longer?
I think it probably was frustrating for other players. But I think I got away with it more with Aberdeen because they were so good defensively. So if I lost the ball, you had behind me Dalton McLeish, Willie Miller, Stuart Kent, Dougie, Jim Leighton, Neil Simpson or Neil Cooper, and the team were really, really solid. So I think that's probably where I played my best football because the team was good, and I probably got away with a wee bit of there. It was funny though because the European leagues, Alex Ferguson used to tell me go and take people on. When the Premier League, you tell me to pass the ball. So it was a contrast. It was a big contrast.
I suppose then big European nights are what is needed and what you're going to see. You're only going to beat that little bit of quality with some actual real quality, aren't you?
Well, I think the European teams weren't used to people come on. They're all kind of passing, aren't they? They get the ball and they keep it the way football is now. You know, like sideways football and that. They weren't used to people direct. Like a game of shimmy and then trying to beat 3 or 4 people. You know, that's kind of good at a game a bit now, isn't it? They don't want to lose the ball anymore.
Indeed. In Aberdeen, you're held in very high regard by the fans and everyone connected to the club. What does it mean to you, Aberdeen, and do you still hold a special memory for the place when you return?
Oh, definitely. That's 6.5 years up there. I love going to Pittodrie because I know it sounds selfish. I thought about moving out of Pittodrie. I've got so many great memories of Pittodrie, but sad when I eventually do leave there. Because going and watching a game, it reminds me of when I was playing there and all the special nights we had. But life just moves on, doesn't it? Football moves on. So I know probably the next couple of years I'll move on to a new stadium.
Scotland qualified for a major tournament as well.
Yeah.
Hopefully we get a chance to watch it. All fingers crossed for everything. Is it exciting time as a Scottish football man and someone involved in Scottish football for the team nationally? What's going on?
No, it's exciting qualifying, and there's some trying players, Tierney and Boy Robertson. There's a good squad of young guys coming through now. Probably maybe just a bit short striker wise. Midfield players, defence are good, but there's no really anybody crying out up front at the moment. Because usually we've always had really top Scottish strikers, but at the moment they're kind of a bit short.
I think it's quite unfortunate for Scotland that obviously probably their two standout players in Robertson and Tierney both play in the same position. That's got to be a kick up the you know what, hasn't it, a little bit?
Although Tierney can play he's played centre back as well, hasn't he, for Scotland? So he's played kind of left kind of centre back and let Robertson play his natural position. But the two of them are players, aren't they? But in my day, it was like Danny McGrain and Sandy Jardine were both right backs, and Danny McGrain went to play left back. So I suppose one of them, Tierney's good, he could probably play right back as well.
Dougie, I've got to say, I've thoroughly enjoyed your company today. It's been great to listen to your career and your stories. And thank you ever so much for making yourself available to come on, mate.
Oh, great. Thanks for giving the opportunity, James. And hopefully a few people doing South by the book. Those fans should enjoy it.
Indeed. If you're a fan of my channel, if you've watched any of my videos and enjoy them, I really hope that you do buy Dougie's book and show a bit of support. I myself am going to order myself a copy, and I look forward to reading it properly. Thank you ever so much, Dougie.
Cheers, James.
Thanks, mate.